one. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Louder.
So, is it better now? Or?
You're gonna make me play with it. Or you just do that.
Is this better?
No.
No.
That's a little worse, actually.
Try the next one.
There's only two of them.
Was the one that you just grabbed on?
It's,
It didn't sound like it was even on.
Nope.
You already hold down the button on the bottom. Oh yeah.
Not receiving.
Maybe you are out there.
Try the other one. Yeah. Put up a couple more points.
There you go.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just yell. That's okay.
Some background noise?
Yeah.
It's a helicopter outside. There you go.
There's a helicopter earlier. It's a helicopter shooting down.
Okay, let's get started. So, my presentation was a case study about CAPsMAN. So, hopefully you're not sleeping, it's already like after a good lunch. So let's wake up. So what's CAPsMAN? So here you can see all the features what CAPsMAN can do. I will explain more in presentation of how to configure, and if you will have some time, I will also show you a live demonstration how easy it is to make. So what features we have for CAPsMAN at the moment, and there will be also some new features added as we evolve and improve RouterOS. So basically, CAPsMAN can do your management of your RouterOS APs. Usually, all of your wireless ISPs or like some hotels, you have a lot of APs, and usually it's very hard to maintain all of them, log into each of them and check the configuration. Now we have come up with like CAPsMAN, where you can do all of this management in one location. So we have dual band support, so 5 GHz and also 2.4 GHz. So we can do all the provision of your APs. You can provide all the configuration that you need. So just power up your MAP CAP board on any other board, and you get all your configuration from your CAPsMAN. And also, you can also have communication not only by MAC, by the same layer, but also by IP. Your APs, your caps can be located in another location, another city, or another country. You can provide configuration to them remotely by IP. We have also certificate support for communication between AP and CAPsMAN, so nobody is like trying to put some rogue APs like your competitor. So, and we have also two modes. We have full data forwarding mode, where everything is happening on the CAPsMAN, and we have local forwarding, where you still have like old style, all the data is coming through the AP. Of course, we have radius MAC authentication for your clients that connect to the CAPs, and you can have a lot of custom configuration support. So let's go more detailed about those features. But before, you need to know what are your requirements for you to make the CAPsMAN system. For the CAPsMAN, you need to have at least x86 or Rotorboard based device, newest RouterOS version 6 version. We're constantly fixing bugs and improving this CAPsMAN, so always, if you're planning to use CAPsMAN, upgrade to the latest version. Or if you write to us, we'll also give you like test release with a fixed version if you reported some bugs that we were able to reproduce. And of course, you need to have wireless FP package installed and also enabled, because a regular wireless package is not enabled. For CAP devices, for APs, also it's any x86 or any Rotorboard based device, it's like old router board that can be run on RouterOS version 6. And you should have Atros Qualcomm chipset card, AVGA, and AC card. Any of those cards are supported. And of course, you should have FP package installed and enabled. but your device should have at least level 4 router's license. It's not possible to make a cap in level 3. So how this CAPsMAN setup would look like? So we have internet connection, and we have our main router, for example, cloud core router. It will be our CAPsMAN router. Imagine it is like a city, or like you have some offices here, or like it's a hotel and you have some hotel APs, or you want to put like centralized APs. And for example, here we have CAPsMAN, and we have like 4 locations where you can put your APs. For example, we'll call them OfficeNet. So you want all those 4 to be managed in one location in your central cloud core router, and it will be a CAPsMAN. And all those devices will be caps. So how to make such setup? So to do that, you need to enable CAPsMAN service on the cap or any board that you are planning to make into the CAPsMAN. Then you need to create a bridge interface. Then add IP configuration to the bridge interface. It is so all the caps will be like going through that interface, so you have IP connection to the internet later. Then you create CAPsMAN configuration. Then you create provisioning rules that provide this configuration to your caps. And you need to enable cap mode on the APs. As maybe you have from 10 APs, you only want 4 APs to be in the caps system. So I'll show you detailed how and where it's all done. So to enable CAPsMAN service, you have a new tab. You have enabled wireless FP package, like called CAPsMAN, and you go to this manager button and just tick this enable checkbox and just click apply, you're OK. And that's all that you need to do on the CAPsMAN. It automatically will start running. Then we just create a regular bridge interface, go into bridge plus, call it as the OfficeNet, so just like in the slide. After that, we add an IP configuration. We add the local IP address on this interface, enable DHCP servers, so all your clients that will be connecting to the caps will get an IP address. And you will also enable masquerading, or if you are like a big provider, like you can also have like a real IP address, and you don't need this NAT function. And after you have enabled the CAPsMAN manager, next thing that you need to do is create a CAPsMAN configuration. So it is done in the CAPsMAN menu, and there's a configuration tab. So what you need to do, you just click plus and create your configuration. So here are the main 3 tabs that is needed for you. First is wireless, where you specify the name of this configuration. You can have multiple configurations in your same CAPsMAN, but you can manage multiple caps in different locations and different. So we specify this for this OfficeNet and SSID, for example, as here office. We specify in which country information it will use. For example, we specify United States, it will use for 2.4 up to from 2412 till 2462 MHz channels. If you, for example, specify Latvia, it will go up to 2472. The next thing is data path. We need to specify for this configuration where all those caps will forward all the traffic. So it means here we specify the bridge that we created in previous slides. So it means when the caps will configure, get this configuration, all the clients will be forwarded through this OfficeNet bridge. So they will get an IP address from this OfficeNet interface. And of course we want security. It's not a public network at the moment. So we just specify encryption types and specify passphrase, for example, OfficeNet. Okay, this is a configuration, one configuration. After we make a configuration, we need to create provisioning rule. So we need to apply which cap should get this configuration. So you go into the provisioning tab and add a new. So what you can specify here, you can specify for which radio max, for which caps you want to apply this configuration. If you leave it empty, it will, for every cap that will be located, it will provide this configuration. So here is the configuration that we provide, OfficeNet, that we created in the previous slide. Here's an action, what to do. An action here will create a dynamic enabled interface. So as soon as cap interface connects to the CAPsMAN, it will create a dynamic interface. When the cap is gone, after reboot, this cap interface will be gone. Also, to make it more easier, if you have a lot of caps, so they do not share the same name, you can make a name prefix. Each time when this interface will be added, it will use such name prefix. After we have done that, we need to go into our caps or APs and enable cap mode. So you should have wireless FP package enabled, and then you need to go into the wireless cap. Here's the button cap, tick enable, and you need to specify which wireless interface you want to provide for CAPsMAN management and where to discover CAPsMAN on which interface. About those stuff I will talk about later. So first we need to make sure how to make it easy. There's another way how to get this cap configuration. This is configuration in the wireless menu, but also on few boards like on RB, MAP that you have, or cap, you have like a button, special button that you hold during the boot that will get this configuration done. I will show you like demo how it is done. After we have made all this, we have booted our first cap. So here is the result, what you get. Check the status. You can check on both sides what you have on caps and on CAPsMAN. So on the CAPsMAN, after the provisioning, after you power off the cap, you can see we have a new Office AP1. It uses that name prefix, added this one interface. And in the status, if you double click on that, you can see it's running AP, and what channel, what data rate it supports, and output power. And you can see it's a dynamic interface, so after boot it will be removed. So for example, if you want to exchange with different caps, you will not have like a ghost interface hanging around. So to check what's seen on the cap interface, you log into your cap, go into wireless interface, and here you can see that this wireless one interface is managed by CAPsMAN, and you can also see what configuration this have. You see it's the same one. Here you have CAPsMAN forward. It means all the data is forwarded through the CAPsMAN. That's why the interface is like grayed out, because you cannot do anything on this router. It means this interface is like not used for this router anymore. So after we have made this network, we want to now to see our first client connects to our new cap, and we want to see what can we get for which cap the interface is connected. We go into the registration table tab is on the CAPsMAN. We can double click, we can see on which interface is connected. For example, here is Office AP3. And we can see it like MAC address, transmit and receive rates, signal, transmit signal we don't see here because it's a regular like Apple device. It's if a wireless routerless client would connect, it will get also this information. You can see the uptime, packets and received bytes. You can also copy this into this registration table to the access list as well. So after you have created your first network, you can see everything is running fine, but then you wanted to change some configuration. The problem is like if you like want to change the configuration, it's not done automatically. For example, you want some specific cap interface apply different configuration. After the configuration is already applied, you need to like reprovision this interface. So what you need to do, you go into the radio section, CAPsMAN radio section. We see here it's 4 APs. We remove this interface from the interface list. We remove this interface. And if we go into the radio tab, we can see that we have Office IP 1, 2, and 3. But for this interface, it's not provisioning, it's like waiting for the provisioning. There's no letter here. So we change our provisioning rule, for example, for the specific radio Mac. And then we manually select this entry and click on provision. It will automatically send this new configuration. So how is this connection done between CAP and CAPsMAN? So as I told you about the features, we have two options. First option is Mac layer 2, and second option is IP layer using UDP protocol. So usually all your CAPs will be located in layer 2 network, so there's no IP configuration needed for CAP. It will be discovered on layer 2. But it should be in the same layer 2 network. If you have another router, another like a routed network your CAP, you need to use layer 3 connection. To use layer 3, the CAP should be able to connect to the CAPsMAN using IP protocol, and also the CAP could be located behind the NAT. It will go through the NAT and you will be able to connect to the CAPsMAN. So it's also a neat feature that you can like control your CAPs that is located in the local networks. The management connection between CAP and CAPsMAN is secured, so you don't need to worry about the configuration when exchanging and connecting to CAPsMAN. But you need to worry about CAP client data because it's not encrypted, it's like regular data. So if you want to make some encryption, you can make some IPsec tunnels or encrypted. Yes?
Is it in any kind of tunnel at all, or is it just regular IP traffic that you would need?
For clients or
for the clients?
It's like regular traffic that's flowing.
So not in a GRE or anything like that?
Yes. So, to understand more how the CAP is selecting CAPsMAN, for example, if you have multiple CAPsMAN services running in your network and you want to see why this CAP is always connecting to that CAPsMAN, but I'm forcing that and that, but here's a explanation how the CAP is like choosing which CAPsMAN to connect. So first, the CAP attempts to contact CAPsMAN and builds available CAPsMAN lists. For example, if you have 10 CAPsMANs, it builds a list. It builds a list of all CAPsMAN IPs that can be reached by IP. Then it gets like CAPsMAN IPs obtained from DHCP, if they're provided from DHCP some special. And also broadcasting on the configured interfaces. For example, if you have specified that the CAP is discovering CAPsMAN on Ethernet 1 or Ethernet 2, it will broadcast on that interface and gather that information to gather from the MAC and IP layer. It has an IP address as well. After that list is generated, here's the rules how it is chosen. First, if CAPsMAN name setting specifies matched, it would prefer that earlier in the list. I will show you where it's located. Then, for example, if you, on the CAP you specify an IP address, but you have also specified interface, you'll always see that it will always choose a MAC connection first, even if you have specified the IP address. It's because MAC layer connectivity is always preferred over the IP connectivity. If the list is empty, nothing is specified, it will choose any available CAPsMAN. So here's more detailed. For example, here on the CAP we enable, specify which interface to use, and we specify the CAPsMAN address. Here we specify an IP address. With such configuration, CAP will always and only connect to this IP address, since it doesn't have a discovery interface specified, so it will always look at CAPsMAN only using IP. For example, if you have a CAPsMAN running the same network, for example, in Ethernet 1, it has this IP address or a different IP address. If you specify here that Ethernet interface, and you also specify this IP address, it will first use MAC connectivity. Only then, if it cannot connect to that one, it will try to by IP address. So, CAPsMAN selection using name. For example, the IP address of CAPsMAN is changed, or you don't want to remember all those names, those IP addresses. You can also specify the CAPsMAN name. name is a CAPsMAN system identity. You go on the CAPsMAN router and go to system identity, change to CAPsMAN 1, for example, and here you can specify the name, CAPsMAN 1. So and specify this Ether 1. So it means if on Ethernet 1 there will be 3 CAPsMANs running, it will choose the CAPsMAN which will have the identity CAPsMAN 1. If it will not see this, it will not make connection. Yes?
Does the CAPsMAN name field allow spaces or any other characters? Because we use the identity string on our router to identify the position of the router.
I think if system identity allows that space, I think it allows spaces, so yes.
Okay.
So now we have all your caps connected. Now the question is how to identify which cap is which, because you could have like hundreds of them. So you can go into CAPsMAN menu, there's remote cap, so you can see all the caps that are connected. You can see MAC or IP address connection here. You can see if the cap is connected to CAPsMAN by MAC or by IP layer. Then you can see router board model. If it's an MAP or like router board 433 or SXT. Then you have router's version, what router's version it runs. For example, if you see that like one of the caps is running old version, you see some troubles, it means that you need to upgrade that. Then you see system identity. This is the main thing that you usually remember, that you have specified before you deploy your cap, that you specified it's located in the room 4, 3, or 5. For example, here. So you know which MAC address or which interface or which cap is which identity. Then you can see wireless MAC address here, which is used. And of course the state of cap, as sometimes you can see it's all around. If you like boot the cap, it will go into DTLS around status first. It's like tries to connect, and only then it will go into the run state. And also if you have some dual band AP or multiple wireless cards, it's also show how many radio interfaces it provides. So in the first slide I showed you that we can create this using provisioning dynamic interfaces. So after the boot they will be gone. But you can also make a static interface. You can do that by, for example, making a new interface or just copy dynamic interface into static one. For example, open the dynamic interface, click copy, name it as differently, click OK, and click once more to provision this interface so it gets all this new information. And after reboot, all this interface will be always there. You can apply firewall rules or any other configuration that you require. So our network is growing, and your customer now requests, I want to have like guest network. I want my guests to be able to connect to my Wi-Fi connection, but they should not have any wireless security. So what you do, usually if like a request comes from a company, like you have a hotel, you have 100 APs, you scratch your head, oh, I need to log into all of them, change the configuration. Now, since you have CAPsMAN, what you need to do, you need to just configure a few changes in the CAPsMAN, and all those changes will applied here. So, to enable virtual IP, what you need to do, you create a new bridge interface, IP configuration for virtual IPs, or use the same bridge interface as master IP. It depends if you want like this guest network to be in the same bridge network, if you allow your guest to see your traffic what you're transmitting as like regular wireless clients, or you want to like separate that. It's up to you. Then you create a new configuration for virtual IP, and to apply this configuration you need to specify this new configuration as a slave configuration. I will show you the slide. Then you need to remove all your dynamic app interfaces or just reboot them. And you need to initiate manual provisioning on all the caps, like I showed you how to do this manual provisioning. Just select all caps and click provision. So here's the setup. We create a new configuration, CAPsMAN configuration. We have this previous office net. Now we create a new one, guest network, guest net, with SSID guest. And we just specify that data path GuestNet or requirements, for example, this hotel, or that you need to use different network. So I create a new bridge interface, GuestNet, where all those guests will be going through. After we make this configuration, we need to specify this configuration to our previously made provisioning rule. We open our provisioning menu in the CAPsMAN and open our entry and add the new slave configuration. And here we specify our previously made Guest network configuration. After that, we remove all those interfaces and just select all of them and click provision. And here you can see the result. You have all the main ones, Office AP 1235, and you have now the slave or Guest APs like here. So now you have a Guest network running all your APs. Yes?
During the reprovisioning, there is downtime, isn't it?
This provisioning, it happens very fast. It's like almost no downtime. The only thing is during provisioning, if you send a new configuration and you use auto-frequency selection, it will take maybe some seconds before it like calculates which is the best frequency to use. If you use static frequency, it will be very fast.
But if you will just, when you delete the dynamic interfaces, you are creating downtime on the other side, or is just something that...
It will, yes, during that provisioning it will create DTLS connection again, but it should be happen very fast. So also you can create a static virtual AP. For example, on one of this, we added the new room 5 interface you have here. For example, here we can create a new interface, specify the master interface, so this one, name it as a room 5 virtual IP, use the same Guest configuration, but here we don't want to use the same SSID Guest, but we say it will be Guest AP, different SSIDs than other virtual APs, as it will be a static one. Okay, we have another features, like an access list. So it's basically a regular wireless interface access list with some additional things like radius query support and mic mask support, or also a view and ID assignment. So, for example, here's a mic mask example. For example, you want to allow that Apple devices are able to connect without any authentication. You don't want to add security. Maybe it's, for example, Apple Shop board. So you add a new access list rule. We specify, for example, MAC address mask of the IP devices of Apple devices here, and specify MAC mask here. Means everything that will be here, any MAC address over here, will be able to accept this connection. After we add this rule, we add another rule which will do anything, any other client that will not be Apple will do this action. It will query radius. Then on the radius server you check if that a client is in your MAC address list or not. So at previous setup it was like full forwarding mode. Now I want to show you that it's possible to do local forwarding setup as well. So we have a similar setup. We have internet connection, we have CAPsMAN router here, we have a Ethernet connection, or like it's located somewhere else, some small shop, and we want to create a local network there. It means all the traffic will not be sent to the CAPsMAN, but CAPsMAN only will do the configuration part. All the traffic will go like regular, or it could be anywhere else, not through this. So what you should need to do to create local configuration, local forwarding configuration. You go into the CAPsMAN local configuration section, add a new configuration, name it, for example, localnet, SSID localnet, specify country. Now we go to the data path, and in the data path, we do not specify any bridge because it will not be used, because all the traffic will be forwarded or not forwarded to the CAPsMAN. It will be processed on the AP. we specify local forwarding checkbox. And of course, we specify security. And then we create a provisioning rule. So we create, for example, this AP, in the previous slide we have, will be like local provisioning, like this local forwarding mode. We specify action create enabled, it will use static interface. We specify it will use this new created interface, and we specify local AP. Since it's the same CAPsMAN router, we previously had this provisioning rule, which applies to all the MAC address. So the new provisioning rule should be moved above this one. Okay, after we specify that, on the CAP, you need to log into the CAP and specify the bridge interface for the CAP or use the routing access for network. As everything is like forwarding the data on the CAP, depending on your configuration on the CAP, usually the best setup is like simplest that you have like maybe it's bridged Ethernet to wireless, and then you just specify which bridge interface to use. Maybe you have multiple bridge interfaces. So, and specify this discovery, and you can see that the interface is already provisioned. It says managed by CAPsMAN. You can see all the configuration. It shows local forwarding, and you see the interface in running state. And it's not grayed out. It means you can add firewall rules, add any configuration. So everything is happening on the router, not on the CAPsMAN. There's a new feature that you could use. It's you can assign VLANs using CAPsMAN. For example, you have in the same shop local network. You want to add like a local guest, like virtual IP. And you, for example, on the smartphone or some Apple device, you want to full forward to the CAPsMAN router. For example, to this VLAN ID, you want all this traffic that goes from this client to be tagged or like matched to this VLAN. And for regular wireless laptops, you want to go to the VLAN 10. So you want to separate in the same AP, you can do this. So how can be done? So it only be done by using local forwarding. You can assign specific interface or even specific client. So first you create slave interface on the CAPsMAN. So local AP guest. You specify for which interface it is. It also previously created this local AP. We specify SSID, local guest, and in the data path we specify this local forwarding and use tag and assign VLAN 10 for this configuration. And in the access list, you create a new access list rule for a specific client to get also, for example, tagged to management VLAN. For example, this Mac device that Apple, this iPhone, for example, is added to the different VLAN, not VLAN 10 like in previous slide, but in VLAN 20. And this access list rule should be moved above. And to all make these final steps, you need to like add VLAN interface on the CAPsMAN. So you just go into the CAPsMAN interface in the VLAN section and add two interfaces, local AP guest VLAN 10 and local AP guest VLAN 20. And you need to specify on the interface where the CAPsMAN is like see the CAP interfaces. It's on layer 2 network only. And assign those IDs. And now all the traffic from this Apple device go to this VLAN, and for regular guest network will go to this VLAN. So, and then you can apply your configuration firewalls to that VLAN interface. For example, here you can assign different IPs to each of them and run different DHCP set network over other hotspots, for example. CAPsMAN also can do dual AP, dual band cap. So if channel settings are not specified, it will automatically use supported band and channels that support this interface. But you can also do custom settings or dual band interface support. For example, if you have Groove 52 and you want to use only 2.4 or only 5 GHz, then you need like create such rules. So how to make this work? You need to create 3 configurations. One configuration for dual band radios, one configuration that applies to only 5 GHz radios, and the third one configuration for 2.4 GHz only. And here are the 1, 2, and 3. So dual band configuration, we specify that it should have a 20 MHz channel width and we'll use band 5 GHz AN. For 5 GHz configuration, we also use the same with 20 MHz channel width and band AN. But for 2.4 config, we just specify only band and we'll use automatic band. Channel width selection should be 2040 MHz. And you need to create 3 provisioning rules. First, for the hardware that supports both bands, AN and GN, then only that supports AN, and last part that supports only GN. You go into the provisioning rule, provisioning tab, and create new provisioning. These tabs in Winbox are added only in 620. In 690, it is added only in the textual interface, so this is something new. So you just specify here the first, if this hardware supports AN and GN, so use action bridge and use this configuration. If the hardware supports AN only, use 5 GHz. If it only supports 2.4 GN, use this config. So very simple too. And you can play with all those provisioning rules. Okay, here it looks like. For example, here we have dual band router. I can see like one config, another config. I can see that this is configuration of 5 GHz rate and this is 2.4 configuration. So this looks like dual band AP. There's also like configuration override. Since there's a lot of tabs, there's multiple places where you can specify different information. Sometimes you think, why I specify the information one tab, it doesn't apply. It means like priority. One setting overrides another setting. For example, you create a new CAP channel, for example, channel 1, 2412. Then you create a new configuration. You specify that it should use channel 1, but you also specify manually 2437 MHz. It means this will override this thing. And then the last part, you create an interface. You also specify the same channel, and you also specify frequency. So result is that it will take the interface, like it's like this arrow shows. This is a more priority. It will use 2462. So if you want like make some encryption or like protect your caps that nobody like tries to put some AP like hack your network or some makes some troubles on the CAPsMAN, you can enable certificate support. Since it's not so easy, all those certificates, we made the auto certificate support. So how does it work? You go to the CAPsMAN manager, click certificate and see certificate auto, click apply. It will, after some time, it will generate those certificates. And on the CAP, you just go into CAP and certificate specify request. And after clicking apply, it will connect to this CAPsMAN and get all those certificates and now storing locally, like here. After you have done that, you can allow only CAPsMAN accept connections only with a valid certificate. After you have after all the caps are requested that certificate, you can enable this checkbox. It means no more requests for those clients, only the caps that have the certificate will be able to connect. You can also lock to specific CAPsMAN. After that, you have added that certificate. You can, for example, you want to log only to that CAPsMAN. You don't want to like somebody's like trying to clone that. You log only to this one. You can add this checkbox and it will log to that, and it will show you what's the locked common name here. Also, we have a lot of requests. Like we have, for example, 951 board or 2011 board. You want to use additional caps that will connect with, but you want also use onboard radio. How to do that? So the trick is you enable CAPsMAN manager and create a configuration, and you can also on the same router go into the wireless tab, click on the cap, click enable, specify which interface you want to use, and specify the CAPsMAN IP address, and you specify the loopback IP address, and that's all it will connect to. Another thing is like CAPsMAN antenna gain. since it's required by law local regulations that you specify and do not power or transmit at higher gain or ERP, you need to specify antenna gain on the cap, and this antenna gain is taken not from the CAPsMAN but from the cap interface. And since this interface is disabled, you cannot change when it's already running. You need to specify antenna gain before you enable cap support on the AP. Here's, for example, that ERP shows on the CAPsMAN is 30 dB. If you log into the cap, it shows that auto power is 24 because it has specified 6 dB antenna gain. The total ERP is 30. The auto power is 24. Okay, this is the last slide, and I will do a quick demo. I have here Rotoboard 2011 and two MAP boards. I'll try to connect to. Hope nobody's hacked it already. So I already made a bridge interface and then added a DHCP server on that. Here we have IP address on that and DHCP server. So what we need to do, we need to create a manager. Go to the CAPsMAN manager, click enable, and then we create a configuration. It will be Office, for example, SID, for example, Office mount, use United States. And for channels, we do not specify anything. Let's maybe decide, and we'll specify which bridge interface to use. And this one. I will not. Okay, I will specify the
Good idea.
encryption. Sure you all can see that. Controller, for example. So we create the configuration. Now we just need to create the provisioning. So use this one, action, create dynamic, and use this configuration. And use this mount, for example. So CAPsMAN is done. So now I need to configure your caps to connect to this one. So I can open log. So I will try to demonstrate how it is done using the cap button. So how it is done, you unpower the board, press and hold this button, and wait till the AB cap light is blinking. So it boots up. First user light is blinking. And now caps button is blinking. Now it flashed fast and means it accesses that configuration, and let's wait till it boots the rotor race. You see the link is up already, and we wait till it boots up the rotor race. In the meantime, we can connect to the other MAP. I don't know which is which now. Check. So you see, it's now up, and you can see the solid light on cap LED. And you can see the remote cap is here. Here's the radio. Interface MAN1. You can see we have now first interface MAN1. Now you can see the status. It's running 2422 channel. And let's check on the other one, what is happening there.
Send it back for warranty.
Oh, here's the other one. It has default configuration, it's firewall in Ethernet 1. So let's check it's the correct one. Yes. Where did it go? So, and the other one is specified. Enabled, interface wireless and discovery, Ethernet 1. Okay, and it will log back to the Ethernet 1. Okay, now we need to wait till it connects. You see? First it was blinking, now it is solid light. We need the CAPsMAN got this. And we have another one, interface, MAN2. Okay, now we have two caps running. We can make another configuration, for example, virtual. West. Okay, and in the provisioning, we just specify slave configuration. You can even maybe specify that it's local forwarding. You can have like one interface local, another west. And you can like provision. And you see, we have already new configuration running. If you see that some clients are already connected. Yes, hopefully they're not stealing my information, okay. So, you can try to connect to one of the caps. Open the wireless interface, and now we can see that we have main interface, which is full forwarding mode, and we have a west interface, which is west local forwarding. Since the local interface, we also need like to add to the bridge, also ready to bridge specified. So this is how easy it is. Okay, it's from first start it looks complicated. After you should be able to make it for your first CAPsMAN setup. So this presentation will be also in our TikTube as a PDF and also video, so you'll be able to watch it. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Oh yeah.
So I'll give you a microphone. Let me check if it's working.
I'll just speak last. Okay. Okay, so I was wondering, when you suggested earlier that the version could be updated, can you remotely push those router OS updates via CAPsManager?
Currently not.
Okay.
It is planned, but not yet.
I'll go fast. I can talk loud as well. I'll go fast because I have a few questions. One, right off the bat, there are auto channels, and we came up in what many would consider non-standard channels. So you came up in 3.7.
Yes.
Much like we could do with like a zone director or something, can you limit the channels that auto select will work with?
Currently we use only all the available channels.
Okay. But then we could actually still go in through our CAPsMAN to then manually set our channels, correct?
Yes, you could, for example, make this interface copy and
I see it there.
20, for example.
And then the other question I have, since I already brought up the zone director, is shit. Of course. Oh, are we able to? Are we able
Provision
to?
all of it.
Are we able to encourage roaming, basically by like de-authing clients that have like a low RSSI?
In the access list, you can specify the signal range. And
It's not like zone director, it will not forward the wireless packets, so there's not seamless roaming yet.
Okay.
yes,
But you can bump them off of a
Which is
tracking signal.
pretty close to make
Yeah.
them jump on the next AP. Thank you.
yes.
Yeah, I'll take the microphone. My voice not that loud.
Yeah, I have about 3 questions. Number one, how many access points, can a single instance of the CAPsMAN as a manage?
130.
It's unlimited almost. For example, we have seen some customers, I don't know from which country, that has on one CAPsMAN interface more than 800 caps. Of course, it takes a few minutes till all the connections are established, but it works.
Then my number 2 question, does it support protocols like SNMP, to retrieve more advanced information, like the temperature, CPU load, and possibly the bandwidth utilization on the access points?
Yes, it is possible. It will be possible.
Yeah, because from what I've seen so far, you've made no mention of SNMP.
There's some echo. For example, already here you can go into the CAPsMAN registration table, for example. For example, you have already OIDs in the registration table, you can add any other menus, some more OIDs. And later you can maybe get some information from the CAP as well.
Will you add
Yeah.
You can add that. Can we see the number of customers connected on each CAP? You can add this MIP for the.
You need to email this request. We will then add that. So
Yeah.
since you haven't emailed us, it's not there.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked this question is because I'm seeing so many access point as a managers, from different brands that offer SNMP, for retrieval of more advanced information.
Yes, if you have such a request, like you want such and such, you're welcome to email us. Most likely we'll have these settings.
Okay, my third and last question, which is off this topic, as a by the way. Why is it that the system time on the MikroTik router board always resets to 1970? Each time I try to update it, it resets. It seems it loves 1970.
There's no battery.
Was the first one produced in 1970?
Yes, system clock, for example, here.
Yeah, it's always a problem.
That's right. It works. I don't know. See, you can use it as a NTP client, for example, here, system NTP client, and specify like.
Change log that there was an option to set the time that start on until NTP kicks in. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I think it's not. We can try to add some default configuration. But you need, the problem is that you need to know which NTP client to use. which server to use. You can use always hours. It's not like very precise, like you can always use IP cloud feature and update time from that.
Okay, why can't you add some sort of CMOS as a battery or as a router box, just like most computers do have?
It adds additional cost.
Negligible as far as I'm concerned.
We can think about maybe a higher.
Yeah, because it's a big headache for you. It affects all my logs and all that. Keep showing 9070 every time.
Okay, next question.
On 6.16, the time is maintained at reboot, I think.
Last known time.
It comes from Unix time. I mean, that's where it comes from. So that's why it's 1970. It started with clock 1.
So there were some questions, I think.
I have a question.
If you have two cats in large area, the power, when you set it manual, automatic, how the selection, power selection, how is gonna work?
Currently it uses maximum power, but we have like in the to-do list like to automatically dynamically select this lowest output power.
So like the devices communicate with each other and they adjust the power?
Well, we'll most likely, I don't know how we'll make. For example, for now we could try to make add those specific routers in one specific group and specify as for that group output power is that and like do not overpower that or.
Okay. I want to look at from what you've set up the caps. If you want to put up hotspot on the cap,
yes.
Does it still go smooth? Can you click one of the caps and click interface?
For example, here we have a like static interface, and I think this is all.
You are still inside the CAPsMAN. Connect to one of the caps.
The hotspot would be created in
Here.
the CAPsMAN.
For example, here it's like full forwarding mode. On this interface, I cannot create hotspot. But if I, for example, add like a new configuration.
Your other one's already in local, right?
In the CAPsMAN.
I'm sorry?
In the CAPsMAN.
Yeah, you typically would do it at the CAPsMAN. It's kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. So you
Okay,
don't have to
maybe I
get
should
into
have
hotspots.
this. Do you set up the hotspot on the CAPsMAN?
Correct.
For the caps?
If you use full forwarding, for example, on the SMAN1 interface, it is added to the bridge interface here for ports. CAP1 and MAM is added. So it means you go to the IP hotspot, which is hotbridge. You'll see. No, I think it's disabled. No, it's disabled here.
No, that's fine.
You can specify it.
You can create it on the CAPsMAN bridge.
Yes.
Or if you're local forwarding, you can have a separate CAPS manager and a separate other router on that same network. That would be your hotspot.
Hotspot. Okay, that means the CAPsMAN redirects.
It doesn't, if it's in local forwarding,
it just
the customer data exits the Ethernet port just as if it was a bridged AP.
Okay, so it stays in line.
Correct.
Okay.
CAPsMAN goes offline. If you're local forwarding, they stay up. Otherwise, APs go down.
They go down.
Currently they go down.
They go down.
But we have like future plans to implement a newer, like updated version of CAPsMAN that will have like features that will. Yes. Okay, some few last questions.
You keep saying that send email and we will look at it, but we sent a lot of emails. We never got a reply from you guys. And us as a
did you get a ticket number?
No ticket number. We have over 40,000 customers.
If you send it to us an email, if you don't receive an automatic ticket number, you're most likely in spam filter or maybe like.
No, not all of us. Did you receive email on the last case? Yeah. Did you receive email on the last case? Which one? The one with the BGP didn't advertise.
I think if he got ticket number, he got at least automatic support.
That's the thing. I mean, we need just at least if someone replies.
Actually, we sent email about the problem for 3 months, and until now it isn't resolved. About the CAPsMAN,
Literally,
the dynamic interface doesn't come with a CAPsMAN identity. So you have to hard-code it in the name, or you just keep the one and keep when you add more devices, add more 1, 1, 1, 2. That's the identity name. So we send email for 3 days.
The issue is we have like hundreds of devices. And it's buildings. We need to know each building name. We need to know the device. You know, when we enable the caps on the device itself on the Wi-Fi, it comes here as a cap 1, cap 2, cap 3, cap 4. We cannot tell which device is which, so we can provide the specific VLAN for that area. So we have to go through the MAC address and.
In remote cap, we have this identity, which is as a routable cap identity.
Yes.
We can add this column into this
Exactly.
additional
one
here. Just email us, we will try.
We did months ago, 3 months.
You should be more patient. Send another one. Thank you.
Just wondering, how tolerant are the caps for lack of contact with the controller, like to lose the config straight away, or is the config stored, is it persistent on boot, or is it that every time they boot up they have to contact the
Every time the cap boots up, it needs to create a new DTLS connection, so it will take some time.
And it's not, it'll drop off pretty quickly. In a minute or two.
So the controller's gone.
The controller's down there now.
Do you have any plans for like clustering 2 controllers?
Yes, we have some plans like.
So,
yes.
Do you support that? I saw one menu with VRRP. Is that you can set up VRRP in the CAPsMAN? Is that, you know?
If you're going IP rather than layer 2, I don't see why they would just need to start with some kind of data exchange.
Yeah, like our.
That's what he said. Script.
Yeah. Like, do you support like 2 CAPsMAN and kind of like if you sync the configs between them manually, they'll go
To do is currently we do not support, but we have in plans. CAPsMAN too.